Hello everyone, how are you doing? This video has already been recorded as a live video, specifically in two languages, Arabic and English. Yet, I just would like to repeat it as a video so I can share it on my YouTube channels for everybody and whoever wants to learn everything in English only, just to improve your listening skill. So in this video, I'm not going to speak in Arabic at all, but if you'd like to know more details about this video, you can find it as a live video on my Facebook page. So let's get started with this. Before we start talking about this video, I just would like to reintroduce myself again. My name is Nariman Al-Hariri. I am self-certified ESL instructor by Cambridge University in London, and I am a TEFL certified ESL instructor by Notting Hill Manchester College. So today, this video is going to be related or relevant to the pandemic or to the coronavirus pandemic, which is commonly spread and being spoken, or number one topic spoken around the world. Everybody speaks about the pandemic. Everybody speaks about what are the results of the pandemic. So let's get started of speaking about some vocabulary related to the pandemic, because some people confuse between using this word, which is pandemic, with two other words. The pandemic is the last stage of a disease. So what are the previous stages of this? It's about to be epidemic versus the endemic versus the pandemic, which is the coronavirus. So people say the pandemic. So we need to know what is the pandemic, and we need to know that what pandemic comes from, because pandemic comes out or through two other previous stages, which are epidemic and endemic. As far as we see here, we can see the green and the blue part of the word. Three words are ended by the three syllable or one syllable. It's emic, epidemic, emic, endemic. So let's get started by introducing the words. What are they related to the pandemic, and what is pandemic? Can I say coronavirus is an epidemic or an endemic? And why it's only a pandemic? This is what we're going to discuss right now. So the epidemic examples, before we go through the meaning, if you have a look on the three pictures here, sorry for that scene, but this is just to make it easier for you to recognize what the epidemic is. So from the pictures from the left to the right, from the left, you can see a small child who looks really sad, looking at himself in the mirror, and he has a specific disease. What is it? It's called polio, which is like a paralysis that starts with the kids when in very early ages, and it's permanent. It's not treatable, by the way. For some extraordinary exceptional cases, the polio is treatable, but not for most of whoever is being diagnosed with the polio. So polio, it's not like incapability of moving properly like a normal person, and that starts from an early age of a child. So let's move to the second picture. The second picture shows like red spots or a rash spreading all over the body. If we have a look here, it's called the word, the horizontal word is measles. Measles is just like a skin disease that most people get in very early age, and it's treatable, by the way. But if an adult gets the measles, he might that might be ended in death. So measles, it's like a skin disease, started in very early ages. And the last picture, if we have a look here, a person who has a yellow fever that reflects on his eye. Might be some complications, or his liver is shutting down, so it reflects, it gives that color, yellow color. But for the yellow fever somehow starts with the kids, the newly born babies, but it's treatable and goes away. So it's called the yellow fever. What's the most common thing between or among the three pictures here, three diseases, but they are not commonly spread. They are not going around the world or on a big scale of a country. They happen in certain randomly with a few people, few segment of peoples, and it just goes away. So it's not a big deal, but it's a disease. So instead of saying it's a disease, we call it an epidemic, because it doesn't go or have to be with all the people. It happens randomly with specific segment of people, and somehow it is treatable, somehow, not all of them, and most likely it's not contagious. It doesn't spread from a person to another by any physical contact, and it happens only in a small place or a small region. So let's just move to another notable disease for the epidemic. Epidemic might be notable in specific diseases coming out of behavior, like habits. If you look at the first picture and the second picture, we can see it's something that's controllable. It's not uncontrollable. The first picture is showing that person who's in yellow. He's obese. He's really fat. So you can see the word in black, obesity. Obesity means excessive body weight. That might come due to a bad habit in eating or a lifestyle, or it might come out of some complications or confusion with the body hormones that cause this kind of big weight. So why is it epidemic? Why do I call it epidemic, not only a disease? Because it causes heart disease, hypertension, 2 types of diabetes, and those things are permanent and might not be treatable. And if it's severe, like a heart disease, it might cause death. Let's move to the second picture. Another epidemic that comes out of a bad habit, which is smoking. Smoking is a bad habit, and it is a disease because it's not only a habit for nothing. No, it causes some kind of diseases like heart disease, liver failure, respiratory issues, and so on. So that's why because it causes different complications, and it happens with a few segment of people by coming out of a bad habit or a behavior. So it is an epidemic, and it happens in a small region. So let's recap the meaning of the epidemic. It's a disease. Yes, it is. That spreads in a certain geographical region, just a small region, like some of the American states, like the obesity. Why I'm saying, referring or highlighting the American states, because obesity is highly recognized in the American states. People, the huge number of cases, obese people are located in the United States. So it is an epidemic, and it happens only most commonly in America due to a bad habit, due to the junk food, fast food, bad lifestyle, and so on. It doesn't have to be contagious. That means it doesn't spread by a physical contact, and it might occur due to a behavior like the smoking. It's a behavior, or the obesity. It's a behavior due to excessive number of food or amount of food that person has along the day, or smoking by excessive smoking all the time. That might be causing different diseases. So it's an epidemic because it's a permanent habit. So let's move to, after the epidemic, we move to the endemic. Endemic. End. So if we see here, end comes from the end. Let's see some examples into pictures. The first picture, we can see a person is drinking water, and the second picture is about mosquito. So the first picture is speaking about a person who's drinking a contaminated water or polluted water. Water is not clean. So if the water is not clean, that might be causing a disease called cholera. The contaminated water, we cannot find contaminated water every day or everywhere. It happens only in specific regions or specific countries due to the geographical nature of this land. And The mosquito, this type of mosquito, if it stinks, it causes malaria, and malaria is a fatal disease that might be leading to death. So if we just look on one mutable thing between, or common between, the cholera and the malaria, both of them are happening in a specific area or specific region of the world, like the African countries. In the African countries, the exotic weather gives the chance to mosquitoes to spread, and those mosquitoes, if they sting, they cause like a disease, this which is malaria, that might be leading to death, and it's contagious. And even the cholera, it comes out of contaminated water, because those countries, most of those countries are poor, and the water they are having is not clear or not drinkable, so it is causing this kind of bacteria coming from the water. It causes cholera, and both of them are endemic. That means ending lives. Those diseases are ending lives, but they are happening in specific regions of the country or regions of places, not around the world. So the endemic, it's a kind of disease. Yeah, it is a disease that's consistently present. That means it's always there, it's always here, it's always happening, it doesn't stop, and being related to the nature of the country. As I told you, exotic places, the hot countries like the African countries, and it might be contagious. Yes, it might be spreading from a person to another easily. So let's move to the last part, which is the pandemic, which is the coronavirus. Why it is called the pandemic? Let's just first present some examples of the pandemic. If we look here on the first one, the Black Death, which is the plague. The Black Death started in 1346 and then into 1353, almost 7 years. 7 years, plague for the 7 years. 7 years, yes, it's a big, a long period of time, yet it caused an estimated death of 25 million people across the world in the 14th century. Wow! That means when a disease kills almost 25 million people in 14th century, the population was not that big to kill all of those people. That means it caused a disaster. It was disastrous. So a pandemic comes, it doesn't have to be related to the time or the period of time it works in. It has something to do with the results. If the result is disastrous, so, or ending with a huge number of death cases, so I call it a pandemic, like the Black Death. Move to the next point, which is the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu started in 1918 till 1920, only for 2 years, the Spanish flu, but sadly speaking, over 50 million deaths were recorded during this outbreak, with the disease lasting only for 2 years. 2 years killed 50 million people around the world in 1920. For the population was not that big as well. So it killed most of the population around the world, and it caused a disastrous end for the people. So I call it pandemic because it has a disastrous end, a disease that has a disastrous result with a big or a huge or a massive number of people. And finally, the coronavirus. Yes, coronavirus started in 2019 and it's still present. That means we're almost like 2 years like the Spanish flu or even more, and it caused an estimated death of 20 million people across the world. And do you know that the United States recorded the first country that has the biggest death cases around the world due to the coronavirus? A lot of people died there. Over 1 million people died there due to the coronavirus. 20 million in 2 years, this is not easy when I'm speaking about human life. So the pandemic, here it means it's a virus. Yes, it is a virus that covers a wide area around the earth and contagiously spreads. Contagiously means it spreads very fast. beyond borders. That means it has nothing to do with a specific country. It's even crossing the borders of the countries and goes to different countries around the world. Like the coronavirus started in China and moved to different countries of Asia, and then moved to Africa, and then moved to the Americas. So it is a pandemic because it's contagiously spreading around the world, and it's causing a disastrous end of death cases. Millions of people are dying. Millions of people are dying due to this virus, and it has a notable number. That means we can notice it, of infected cases that cannot be controlled. We're still unable to control this disease. So the last thing to speak here about is the coronavirus extra vocabulary. When something is unwelcome, starts and knowing it is coming, we call it an outbreak. Like when the disease started in China, we knew that there is a pandemic. We knew there is a virus starting in China, and we knew it's going to spread around the world. And we knew that this virus is not a good virus, and it's not easy to defeat. So it was, when there is a disease, is it welcome? Is it pleasant? Of course not. So it is an outbreak. Outbreak because we know it started and we are not welcoming this. It doesn't have to do only with disease. When an event comes and we know it is coming, and this event is not good and we don't want it, and it might end in bad results, so we call it an outbreak. So we can use this word to speak about diseases, wars, because both of them, they are unpleasant events, and they are ended in unpleasant and disastrous ends. So we call it an outbreak. So coronavirus outbreak, we've been through 4 continuous outbreaks. So if we can define the outbreak from the coronavirus, we can see that coronavirus, we know that coronavirus started in December or November 2019, and then it moved to and after, from November to January, we said yes, it is over, but we know there is another coronavirus. Well, the curve will rise again starting from March. So this curve, when it starts to rise, we call it an outbreak, because we can expect it again in a specific time, and it is unwelcome. We don't like it. It's unpleasant for us. So it means it is an outbreak. We know it is coming and we don't like it. We are currently now in the 4th outbreak. It means the outbreak means the starting point of that pandemic or the disease or an event. We know it's coming and it will rise again, but still it is unpleasant and cannot be controlled. That's all. Thank you so much, and hope this video was beneficial to you and you liked it. If you really appreciate these efforts and this video, I do appreciate if you just click like and share the video so any other member can learn and understand the differences between epidemic, endemic, pandemic, and what the outbreak is. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in another video. Thank you so much and have a lovely day. Bye.